Hello and many blessings. Again, this is Rabbi Danyiel, and we're continuing our study in the book of Genesis. We're dealing with day 4, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and read that in English first. It says, God said, "Let there be luminaries in the firmament of the heaven, to separate between the day and the night, and they shall serve as signs, and for the festivals, and for the days and the years. And they shall serve as luminaries in the firmament of the heaven to shine upon the earth." Okay. And it was so, and God made the two great luminaries, the greater luminary to dominate the day, and the lesser luminary to dominate the night. And the stars. Kind of a after point there. It's kind of interesting how that says. And God set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth, to dominate by day and by night, and separate between the light and the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening, and there was morning, a fourth day. Okay, so I'm going to read through it in Hebrew, and we're going to talk about it in Hebrew, okay? So again, it starts off, like the other days, God is speaking into existence something, okay? Okay, so what it says is, "Vayamar Elokim yi meroot barakia hashamayim." So God says, "May there be lights." It's a plural word, or marot, lights, but it's more than that. It's a place of the light. You see what I'm saying? So it's a source of light. We know that light comes from many sources. Light doesn't only come from the sun. Light comes from many sources. I mean, this is apparent. You can take a match and light it in the darkness, and light's going to come. Or you can take a flashlight, or even there's what's called bioluminescence. Certain creatures illuminate at certain points in time. So this bioluminescence is a source of light. So here it says, light, a source of light, not just light, not just or is light. It doesn't say orot, the plural of light. It says morot, which is the source of light. Okay, so these things are generating light somehow. Okay, and he says, "Barakia hashamayim." Now, if you listen to the previous lesson I gave, rakia is basically space. It's the hardness. That's that difference. Once the atmosphere, you get up so high, and then bam, it comes into the second heaven, which is the rakia. This is where God placed. He didn't place these luminaries in the other heavens, the spiritual realms. He placed it in the physical realm. This is still in the physical realm. So, Barakia al Shamayim, lahavdel ben yom umvei. See, now previously we know that the day is based off of the day is not determined by the light coming from the sun. It's determined, the day is a 24-hour rotation of the sphere itself. If it's a 24-hour rotation of the sphere itself, that's how we know the time frame of a day. It's roughly almost 24 hours. And there's a slight little difference in that. Okay, so with that, we know that time, the concept of a day is not dependent, the 24-hour concept of the day is not dependent upon the sun. Okay, here we're getting a new concept where we're going to be calling that portion of the day, of the 24-hour period, that portion of the day that has light in it, we're going to call that, now going forward, we're going to call that day. And the other part, that darkness part, that is not being illuminated, we're going to call that night. But even that is being illuminated, as we see. Okay, so, and to be, Vayehi la'otot l'mo'adim l'yamim l'shanim. Okay, so these lights, okay, we need the sun to help us know the time of the day. We need the night, the moon, to help us determining the months. Okay, and we need the other stars to help us determine the seasons. You see, the sun helps us determine what's day and night. and the moon helps us determine the month, the part of the month actually, and then all the other stars help us determine the season and their relationship with each other. So for the seasons, for the days, and for the years, for the festivals, le-mu'adim. Now this word mu'adim is related to the word ed, and ed means a witness. So ed is a witness, right? So mu'adim is something that stands as a witness. See, the festivals of Judaism, Passover, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, these are witnesses. They testify of God in different ways. Passover testifies of the greatness of God's deliverance of the Jewish people from slavery in Egypt. Rosh Hashanah testifies of creation itself. Yom Kippur testifies of God's forgiving nature to people. You see, so that's what these help us determine the proper time and place for Passover, for Yom Kippur, for Rosh Hashanah, for all the holidays, and even for the simplest of the Sabbath, which is every once a week, right? This is determined by the counting of the day. So we continue on. Okay, and these lights in the firmament of the heavens, la'ir, to shine, ala aretz, fahiken, and it was so. Okay, so the sun obviously shines on the earth, and then the moon reflects that. There's something to do with the moon that allows it to reflect that light and light up the nighttime sky. Back in the day, when they were trying to put faith on trial in the United States, I believe it was called the Scofield trials. Anyways, the lawyers there on the side of the atheistic perspective tried to say, well, see, here, this is saying that the sun wasn't made until the fourth day. And if the sun isn't made till the fourth day, then how can you have a day? It's a lack of understanding of where light comes from, because light comes from, is a visible portion of electromagnetic spectrum. And of course, the sun, we get the majority of our light on Earth from the sun, but there is other things out there in the universe that is electromagnetic in nature that brings light upon. So as you start understanding the electromagnetic spectrum and the visible light portion of the electromagnetic spectrum, and how you can get light from other things besides the sun, then this starts to make more sense how this works. And if you remember what I said previously, I spoke about Rambam, who mentioned that creation is like, it's akin to the child in the womb. The child in the womb is under one system as it is developed, but once it comes out of the womb, it grows in a totally different fashion. And to judge how the origin of it all began by seeing how a child is when he's 5 years old and tracing it back to the root, you're not going to have the understanding, because that's not what happened while it's in the womb. And just as such, in creation, the 6 days is a different system altogether, and what happens after the 6 days. And it's a mature state that everything was created in. So we only get glimpses into this. And we continue. V'ya'as, and make. See, so here, out of the 3 verbs we've used previously, I spoke about, which is to make, which is bara, to create ex nihilo, yotzer, which is to form like a sculptor, and asa is to make from other elements. So here it says, Vayasa Elokim et shnei amorot hagodolim ve'et hamorot. So he's making here. He's not creating the sun ex nihilo, because he already created all the elements for the sun previously, and that really slaps in the face of scientists that say, well, the sun, multiple suns exploding eventually created all the elements in the universe. No, not according to what Scripture says. It says here that God made Not that God created the sun, not that God created the moon. God made them from things that were already there. Okay, so that's a very important distinction. And he made them with a purpose, and the purpose, Hamaor, to be a source, a great source of light. Okay. לממשלת המאור הגדול לממשלת יום ואת המאור הקטן לממשלת הלילה. So, and he made this greater light, source of light, he made this greater source of light to rule. Memshelet, like a person rules over a kingdom, like a king rules over a kingdom. To rule the day, and then the moon to rule the night. Okay. And then it's as an afterthought, he says, Veta Kochavim, and the stars, like, and the stars, do they really matter? And the stars, you see what I'm saying? So we get all caught up on the stars, and we try to make this assumption that, nobody can get to the nearest star. And so how can we even know what a star really is? We make these assumptions, and based off of these assumptions, we say that the sun is a star. Well, that doesn't seem to be the case biblically. Biblically, it seems to be the case that a sun is the sun, a moon is the moon. But stars could be something totally different. Very similar, but possibly stars can be something totally different. So just a perspective on that. We get caught up in cosmology. They get caught up on a bunch of things. There's so many presuppositions that you get when you start studying it. It's not anything to do with cosmology or the origins of human life or the origins of the universe. These are philosophical in nature, not necessarily scientific in nature. And whether you're a creationist, an evolutionist, or whatever your perspective is on it, you can take several pieces of science that are actual, factual, like measuring. You take an apple, you drop it on the floor, and you measure it. You can take all of these things together, and you can support either case that you want to support all day long. Because in the end, you're trying to say that these things support a philosophical thing. See, creation, cosmology, and origins of life have to deal with are really in essence a philosophical question, because we can't measure, we can't go back and do empirical science on these things. No matter people try to say that they're doing empirical science on these things, no, it's impossible. You weren't there. We don't know how old it was. You weren't there. We're using methods to try to make guesses on that, which has presuppositions. Okay, as we continue. Vayetein otam Elokim barakia shamayim la'ir ala arts, and he places them at that point. So it seems to me like a lot of people say that there's a cause and effect. A lot of people says they're a cause and effect, but this isn't really a cause and effect. It's more like God creates them and then places them in their position and then allows the rotation to take place. So the Earth was already spinning in its own rotation by itself, and then on the fourth day, God puts these other things in place. Remember, it's like growth in the womb is different from growth outside of the womb. Okay. לממשלת ביום ולילה להבדיל בין אור ובין חושך וירא אלוקים כי טוב ויהי ערב ובוקר יום הרביעי. Okay, and so and then God, of course, God says the day and the night is separated by the light and the darkness. And then after God saw that this was good, God said, this is good, and it's declared that this was the fourth day. The fourth day. So, with that said, that's a very interesting piece. There's a lot to the fourth day of creation, and I look forward to teaching everybody that in other lessons. Working on a book on creation, and let everybody know when that comes out. For any current books that are out right now, you can look at my site at lionsden.info. There's blog posts, there's these YouTube videos, there's several different concepts. In connection with that, we have Lions Den Publication, and Lions Den Publication, we put out religious materials, and look for our products there as well. and visit our site when you can. Like my YouTube posts. If you liked it, go ahead and subscribe. Share it as much as you can. And I hope you're blessed. And I hope that you remember that the way to have a blessed life is to always bless others. So the way to really being prosperous in life is to bless others. So be blessed and let the blessings follow you.